Hey,
fam.
Wow, look how much wider it looks.
So Bronson's playing with a different setup on the YouTube side of things.
What's up, guys? On the YouTube side, I got one of those
super cool
back-facing cameras. Like it's magnetic, so I can use the rear-facing camera on the phone instead of the front-facing camera because the rear-facing is a better quality.
And I can definitely see it.
And it's a whole difference. Like
wide shot. It gets the whole couch. It gets.
we got to make sure there's nothing like all the pillows. The pillows are nice and everything, right? Wow, that is very different.
Very cool. So hello on Instagram. You're seeing the regular view. Very narrow.
So what's going on? So technically I realized today's the 1st of June. This is supposed to be a Q&A. Because it's the first weekend of the month.
We could do it next week.
We'll do it next week.
Before we leave for the cruise.
Low carb cruise. If you're going to the low carb cruise and you're watching this video, comment on this video and let us know that you're going to be there.
If we'll see you in Alaska or in Seattle.
This is our fourth or third. This is our
fourth. 20.
So we went on the first one before we'd been dating for a year.
Was it 22? Yeah, it was 2022. That's right, because before I even moved in with you, you were like, are you coming with me on the cruise?
Really?
You're going to be my plus one?
Was that my first time on the cruise? I don't remember if that was my first or second time.
I think it was, because the 2021, you had done Louisville. Mm-hmm. Ketopalooza.
It might have been my first one.
And then 21 when we met.
Wait, so we've only done 3. I thought we did 4 cruises.
Well, we've done 3. This is our 4th. 22, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, right. This is our 4th. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I can't add. May math.
This man was so intentional. Yeah. Look, single men out there, let me tell you, women want a man who knows what he wants and shows us that he wants us.
I showed you I wanted you?
Yes.
How did I do that? We told you, okay, so we're talking
about
our past lives. We're talking our past lives.
It wasn't intended to be.
We don't have any relationship secrets, things that,
Well, that was number 1. We didn't have any
right
past relationship secrets.
I was like, hey, this is what's going on. Here we are.
He laid all his cards on the table. Take it or leave it. This is me.
This is it. This is where we're at.
Yep.
There comes a point in life, and everything is everything. This goes for all things.
Well, when we met, I was almost 40, and you were almost 50, or you had, almost 50.
There comes a point in life, though, where you're just done with the games, and you're done with, and this is relationships, this is your health journey, this is anything, where you're just tired of the bullshit, and this is how things are, this is what I'm looking for. If this isn't going to work, then I'll find something else.
100%.
Right?
Exactly.
Like that's, you just.
It's not worth the BS.
Yeah.
The games, the representative, putting your representative. We're frozen.
You're frozen on Instagram. What did you do?
I'm trying to.
There you go. You do the filter.
Fix the color. Yeah. Mainly because we are so washed out on the regular one. I don't know what it is about the.
Maybe it looks like that here, but when it's out, it doesn't. I don't know.
I don't know.
So, yeah.
Anyways, so there were no secrets. We revealed our past
all
secrets.
The things, and then she assaulted me.
No, I just gave him a look.
You give me a look. Okay, guys, we are not always the best on picking up cues when women are trying to signal us that they're interested. But there are times when if you don't pick up on the clue, on the cue, the signal, the sign, you are an absolute idiot. And you just have to own it. I missed it. I wasn't paying attention, whatever it was.
Yep.
But you came walking down that little hallway.
I was coming back from the bathroom.
If I didn't kiss you then,
it would have probably gone very differently.
It would have been a whole different, we wouldn't be here right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way you,
I like sauntered over to
I
you.
do. Yeah. Anywho, we're going to stop this video and...
We're not revealing those secrets
No,
just yet.
this is not that kind of, this is
One
not,
day, maybe
this is not that kind of video.
we might have a course one day.
You've been talking about it, about, not that, about a course.
A course, yes.
Like I don't even know what you would call it. You've been telling me I need to teach a course to guys on how to read women and how to connect
their women,
etc.
Yes.
Okay. Slight segue. Slight
digression.
The
secrets we're talking about today.
Yes. What are we talking about today?
Before we got healthy, how we lived our lives, and how different that looks from how we live our lives today. Because we see, this came up recently with a client where it was like, I thought, I was thinking differently about the way things were going to go after I spent 6 months, a year working on my health and fitness.
Right.
Versus how I'm thinking about it now.
I have to ask you because it's driving me crazy. Scoot this way.
Are we not censored?
We're not censored on the picture above us.
Oh my goodness.
My OCD is driving me absolutely crazy.
You should have seen him putting these pictures up.
Scoot over a little bit more.
Hold on, now I gotta change it. How do I put it in the frame now? Oh my goodness, y'all, living with ADHD, OCD.
Yeah, I don't care about yours. I'm just looking at mine.
I care about mine. We've got to somehow get in the frame. Where are you going?
I'm just scooting because I'm going to go this way a little, or wait, this way a little bit. There we go. All right.
So I need to move over more.
There we go. Now we're good. Jeez. All right, now we're centered.
One time, maybe we can do this before we go live.
Well, but then it's fine. It's part of our charm.
What the heck was I even saying?
You were talking about your process of realizing what we're going to talk about.
Oh, well, the point, right, is that, well, a couple of things. One, that not all successful people, regardless of whatever the category of success is, were just born that way. And I think there's a lot of the time there's a misperception that people who have been successful with health and fitness are it's just easy for them.
It's easy for them, yeah.
They just eat healthy. They don't have the struggles that I have. They don't have food addiction. They don't have sugar addiction. They don't have binge eating tendencies. It's just easy for them to eat healthy and to live this lifestyle. They want to go to the gym all the time. They love working out. They love this lifestyle, and they just came out of the womb like that. And it's always been that way, and they never had to work hard for what they got.
Far from the truth.
Right?
Far from the truth.
They just have something I don't have, where it's easier for them.
Well, because you see everything on the social medias. You only get to see, guys, and this is one of the reasons, this is why we're having this conversation. You only get to see us now. You don't know, right? When we talk about we go to the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week, I had French fries the other day because I wanted some French fries, and I'm not worried about it keeping me from getting my goals because I'm already at where I want to be. I'm not working we talk about finances. I'm not working in health debt, right? I have a surplus of health right now. I have a surplus of the freedoms and the experiences that I want to have because I've done the work over the past 10, 15 years. So you get to see us living in the reward phase and the maintenance phase of maintaining the freedoms that we have. The story of how we got here is totally different. And it's probably, I would say, much more relatable to where you are today.
Yes.
So understanding that we are talking from a place of having been through it.
Yes.
We are not like the 21-year-old influencer that you see on social media who's barely gotten out of diapers, didn't even finish college, and is now trying to tell us as people in our prime what we need to do to be healthy.
Yeah.
They've not been through it.
Oh, they can do everything in moderation.
They've not been through a divorce, a bankruptcy, raising kids,
failed
businesses, all of the different things that go on. They've never been through any of that stuff. They don't know what that's all about. So that's what this is what we're going to talk about. So where do we want to start?
Well, I was going to say the other thing I wanted to mention about this is there's the perception that we never had it like you have it, right? But there's also a perception of how we can live now, like the French fries, right? Sometimes there's a perception that we get to cheat all the time. We get to eat whatever we want now. And this was part of one of my clients' struggles was like, oh, I was thinking that if I put in the work for 6 months or a year, then I could have cake every day.
Right, literally. And some of you are thinking that. Like once I get to the weight, then I can do the things that make me feel good. And
I'm only giving this up for a short period of time until I reach my goal. And then I can
go back, right? Instead of saying, why does this make me feel good? And maybe thinking about redefining what good means.
And your relationship with those foods, your, what do I call the association? What you associate these hyper palatable, highly processed, essentially junk foods. And that includes things like pastries, right? Sometimes people think junk food and they just think like packaged candy bars and potato
of that. Chips, whatever.
Right? But they're not thinking, well, but that, my favorite croissant at my favorite bakery, like that's junk food too. Right? So just all of this, I think a lot of the time people have heard and they intellectually understand that I can't go back to my old ways and keep all the results that I got. But they're thinking about some of the things we're going to talk about here, the absolute worst crap that they used to eat or the absolute worst thing. But that doesn't mean, some of my favorite indulgences that are still not doing me any good.
Right.
And don't belong in anyone's everyday life.
Yes.
Who wants to be healthy and vibrant and optimized.
Yes. And so there's two things I want to talk about here. Number one, everything that we're going to talk about and everything we always talk about, this is your reminder. We are never talking about how to lose weight. We are always talking about how to improve your quality of life. The context of our content is always, how do you improve your health, improve your quality of life, enable yourself to experience life for longer. That is the goal.
And that includes improving your body composition.
Yes.
Which doesn't correlate with weight loss.
Because some of you need to gain weight.
Some people, it will correlate with weight loss. Others, it won't.
Directly contradictory, but when you're talking about health, and I'll say it again, it also can correlate with weight gain. Some of you need to gain weight.
Yes.
There's a very specific demographic of people that we work with who are afraid of a single pound being put on. You need to gain weight. Okay? So just keep that in mind.
Let's just be clear. We're talking about the women.
I didn't want to go. I wasn't going to go there. You're going to go there.
I'm going to say it because I want them to know who we're talking to because they won't hear it. It's never the person who needs the message that actually hears the message, right? So women usually older, we're talking 50s, 60s, 70s even, right? Essentially, you are underweight, you are under-muscled, maybe still skinny fat, and all you're seeing is the fat. Even though you desperately actually need to put on probably some fat and some muscle.
I would say there's many of them are under fat as well.
Yeah.
They're very lean, very under muscled, and they need both muscle and fat.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were.
Second thing.
Oh, go ahead.
We have to let you know if you are still working through some of your challenges or mindset around foods or specific foods, there will be discussions about foods that we used to eat and they may be triggering. So be prepared. The things that we're going to talk about, okay, we say it and no, it's a phrase. I want to no insult intended, but when we have these conversations, and here's how this whole thing came up. We were having a conversation on the couch by ourselves, talking, reminiscing about how much of a fat kid is inside each of us, right? Still, the foods that because we see things on TikTok, and I sent her a video the other day of it was a brookie with peanut butter Oreos. It was chocolate chip cookie dough with Oreos, then peanut butter, then caramel and chocolate syrup, which don't need that, and then brownies on top. And I sent that to her, and I was like, "Oh my God, OMG!" And she was like, "We are such fat kids," because we would, if I wasn't who I was now, key phrase, if I wasn't who I am now, and I was who I was then, I would have eaten that whole fucking pan.
Absolutely.
That pan would have been gone in a weekend.
Yep. Same.
Right? But now I can look at it and go, "Whoo, that would taste so good," and move on. Like, it's not like I'm not
the things to go make it.
Exactly. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not like planning when I can make one. Or I haven't had it on my mind every day. I don't daydream about it, any of that kind of stuff. Just go, "Oh, that looks, whoo, boy, that would be fun to have. And even now it's reduced, where before I'd smash that whole pan. I think, man, I'd love to have some of that. Like, there's even a reduction in the overall concept of how much of it I'll eat.
Because even physiologically, taste buds, mental perceptions of food have changed. And like, literally everything has changed with who we are, how we behave in our day-to-day lives, and what we enjoy.
That's the key.
Enjoy those things.
We've changed the things that we consider good or enjoyable.
I should tell them one of the birthday gifts I got you.
Which one?
I got him boxer
Not that one.
briefs.
Oh, okay.
Not that one.
You want me to get them?
Yeah. Show them what
because guys, this is
played in as well to the conversation.
Right. Hold on.
This is one thing.
Hold on, I got two. Hope they're clean.
Oh, those are the ones from Christmas, I think. Ice cream.
Ice cream underwear.
Cream. No, that was the chocolate chip ice cream.
And then these mamma jammas.
These are the birthday gift, the Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts.
Boxers.
All right, when I was growing up, guys, my grandmother, I loved Pop-Tarts. My grandma
got us in the conversation of
because I opened these and we had that conversation.
Yes.
So my grandmother knew that I loved Pop-Tarts. There for my entire childhood, every time we went to visit her, there was a box of either strawberry. Where's the strawberry? Strawberry or cinnamon. That was just for me. No one else. She would not let other, like the whole family. She had 6 kids, so all of her kids, all my aunts and uncles, all of their kids, my brother and sister, all of the families would be there. I was the oldest grandchild, so I got a little special treatment. And she would have a box of Pop-Tarts that was just for me.
Wow.
The visit would be several hours, right? Maybe 3 or 4 hours we're visiting, Thanksgiving, whatever it may be. That box of Pop-Tarts would be gone. 3 bags inside a box, 6 Pop-Tarts. And I would eat the whole thing in that one visit.
We got on a conversation about all the different Pop-Tart flavors we liked. And then he said, I wonder what that would taste like to me now if I had that now. Right? And I was like, I bet it won't be as good as the nostalgic thoughts of what it was. What it tasted
and I'd probably
like
get through like half of one and be like, eh.
I think it'll just taste fake to us now.
Yeah. But it wouldn't
We'll be able to taste the chemicals that we couldn't taste when that was a regular part of our lives.
Right. But I would be forcing myself to connect to the nostalgic feeling of something from 30 years ago.
Yes.
It's not something that I'm connected to now.
Now there's
I'd be forcing
something.
that. I'd be trying to force that emotional connection that doesn't exist.
For a lot of you, one of the struggles that you face is that you have these nostalgic thoughts and emotions around certain foods. And even if you don't eat them on a regular basis now, you still think about them with longing and with desire. And it's not grounded in reality. It's grounded in this fantasy of probably they weren't ever really that good.
Well, you know what? The other thing too, and we haven't even gotten to the fun stuff yet, but what you made me think of is it's a form of comparison. Because you're comparing where you are, what you're doing now to what you did, and you're in the challenge of improving now, and you're taking that negative perception of the challenge and comparing it to the fake joy of how good it felt to do those things in the past.
You can do whatever you wanted, right? Yes.
So it's a form of comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. You're stealing the potential benefits and joy you can have of the process of improving yourself and the things that happen from that. And you're stealing it from yourself by comparing now to then.
There's a flawed, so it's an association. You're associating healthy eating or whatever form of healthy eating or way of nourishing yourself now that you're striving to get to, or you're trying to do a certain diet for that purpose because you consider it healthier for you, and that has a negative association in your brain.
Right.
You're thinking of healthy as negative, as bad, and you're thinking of unhealthy as the good, positive, and you need to flip those two things. And if you're still struggling to maintain or to stick to your diet or healthy protocol, you have not flipped that association in your brain yet.
Right. And part of that goes back to the why are you doing it? If you're doing it for quality of life, then cheating becomes how can I get where I want to go more efficiently? Versus cheating being something that makes me feel good even though it doesn't make me move towards my goal. Right? Because a cheat is I don't cheat on a test to get a worse score. I cheat on a test to pass the test, to gain an advantage. And some of you guys, most of us, I did it, I know you did it, we think of cheats as something that's about the enjoyment of what we're doing, and it's the opposite of the cheat. It's the opposite of a cheat. It's not a cheat code. It's not moving you forward. It's not helping you get there.
It's the other definition of cheating. It's being disloyal.
It's being dishonest. It's being disloyal. It's breaking the process. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're being disloyal to the person who you want to be.
Yeah.
Woo.
Okay. So when we were talking about the fat kid in us, what were some of the things? You want me to start with mine? Because I have a very...
Okay, let me just say this. When he is sharing, and he has shared with me before some of these, and this just went into a much longer list that I didn't know about.
So much for not having secrets.
And I'll tell you, it created this shift in the perception of what I used to consider my binges.
Oh my God. She's like, that's like, yeah.
And I was like, if you had told me this when I was in the height of maybe not in the height of my bulimia, because at that point it got way too extreme.
Right. And that's a big part of her story, guys. If you didn't know already of her journey through dealing with bulimia, we don't need to get into all of that because that's you've done videos on that, but that is part of the story as well.
If you want to hear that whole story, I shared it my first talk on the low carb cruise in 2022. Mm-hmm. And I went to
Did we get a video of that?
Yeah, I have it on my YouTube. You can go on my YouTube and Keto Bikini Secrets on YouTube, and I have a playlist that is all of my features and interviews and speeches. So if you go to that playlist, you'll find my original, all of the low carb cruise talks that have been recorded. I'm not sure if all of them were. At least 2 of them were, and that was the first one. So that I get into my rock bottom moment, and it was bad.
Yeah.
And it's still, I mean, I don't need to lean on that so much these days. But when I was in recovery, the first couple of years in recovery, I leaned heavily on reminding myself of that rock bottom.
Yeah.
So
I had that too during COVID.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. I had 3 defining moments in my journey. 2 of them were physical, me seeing a picture. And then the last one was just being so in a hole mentally, depression, all of those things, that it was just like, again, you get fed up. I can't stay here. I have to get out of this.
It becomes
to
a
get
must.
out of this.
It's no longer an option.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have that. For me, mine, I'll just let everybody know, we'll go back and talk about the things I used to do. But this is, we're talking 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
2020, 2021.
This was for both of us. Our rock
right before we
bottoms
met.
were not at the beginning or before our journey started.
No, it was in the middle.
It was, yeah.
Because I was carnivore since 2018. I've been in fitness since 2010, right? And I owned a CrossFit gym while this was going on. I had just sold my CrossFit gym. I was moved my business online, and then COVID hit, and then all of the things happened. And 2020 to 2021 was just a black hole.
Both of us, probably the darkest time of our lives, and it was so necessary. Like when I think back, we met when we were both starting to come out of it, and it's
been uphill ever since. But so for you, the bulimia challenge, for me, it was the ice cream challenge.
Oh, the ice cream, yeah.
Guys, there was a period after COVID, towards the end of COVID. I think it was after lockdowns, but things were still very locked down. A lot of stuff was going on. We were very isolated. I had just sold my gym, gotten a divorce. A lot of things were happening. And there was a period of time, I don't remember exactly how long, several months, where easily 2 days a week at a minimum, 2 days a week, I was sitting at home after work, binging on 3 to 5 pints of ice cream a night. Just housing it. Ben and Jerry's all day long. We just go in.
Which is like the
worst. It's the worst. If it had been Haagen-Dazs, at least we could say, hey, it's mostly natural and it's real milk and whatever else. Guys, I can't even. It was bad. Looking back now, I didn't realize at the time, but I know my mom and my family tried to kind of pull me out of it, but with certain things. And when you're in it, you don't realize you're in it, right?
Yep.
You have to look back and go, oh man, that was dark.
And you do actually isolate from people because you know what you're doing and you don't want the input.
Yeah.
You don't want anybody to help you.
I put on a lot of weight. I was depressed. And again, so much ice cream. So much. I could have bought stock and made a profit on my earnings, just the amount of ice cream I was eating. It was bad. So that's just to let you know, guys. Number one, we have stories of where we've been in the recent past while we've gotten to a point of freedom, while we've gotten to a point of being healthy.
After a good bit of success.
Right? We've had some success. That doesn't mean you never have challenges. No matter how successful you get in your life, you will have challenges. You will make mistakes. You will make choices that set you back and you have to recover from. Things will happen that set you back that you have to figure out how to work with and work around. It's inevitable. That is why trusting the process is so important, because if you trust the process and if your goal is deep enough and powerful enough, you will always be able to pick
Your
yourself
why.
up
Your why.
and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why we say, as long as you never quit, you never fail. As long as you never quit, you never
It's always
fail.
worth it to try
Right?
again, try harder, start over. Like as many times as you need to, it's always worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let's run down the list of things that Bronson used to eat.
Well, I want you to do it in a way where you paint a picture, because what I want you all to understand is how we used to live life.
Right.
And then we'll paint the picture of how we live life now, what life actually looks like, and how that has changed. So some of your stuff was at different times of life,
It was.
like what a day might look like. So we can see not just
Well, let's start
what
with
the
where
extremist things were occasionally, but like
some of these things were not occasional.
that's one of the things I want y'all to
Yeah,
understand.
so
is that when he was painting this picture, he's like, this was not occasional, this was every day.
this was regular. We'll start when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So when I was a teenager.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
If you don't know me, I like to break things down and understand how things work. I did that with Kool-Aid one time. And my mom was making Kool-Aid, or I went to make Kool-Aid. I forget exactly what the scenario was, but I'm looking at the recipe for Kool-Aid, and it's like, oh, okay, put this Kool-Aid in the water, was it 2 or 3, like 2 or 3, like all the sugar.
All the sugar.
And you mix it all up, and then you let it sit, and then you got Kool-Aid. And I realized, wait a second, Kool-Aid isn't even flavored really. It's mostly just food coloring and sugar in water. So I don't need to buy Kool-Aid to drink Kool-Aid. So on a regular basis, guys, and you know where this is going, on a regular basis, instead of making Kool-Aid, I would just get a cup of water.
He was the alien.
Put some sugar in it and drink that. That was my drink of choice every day while I was in high school.
My gosh.
I don't even know what I did at home. Like, we didn't have computers or computer games or anything back then, right? So I don't know if I was reading, playing, I don't know what I was doing. Watching TV, I guess. But yeah, I would literally just make a glass of sugar water, and I would have 2 or 3 of them a day after school every day. That's the first thing. Now, that morphed into breaking other food things down. And I happened to look at the
Reese's peanut
butter? The ingredients of a Reese's peanut butter cup, and heard a conversation. Somebody was telling me, or we were talking about Reese's or something, and somebody said, well, the only reason that they're so good is because of all the sugar they put in the peanut butter. And that went, ding.
I can make
my own Reese's peanut butter if I just take a bowl, scoop out half a jar of peanut butter into it, and then put sugar in it and mix it all up. So not only was I drinking sugar water, but I would also have sugar peanut butter as my snack after school for most of high school. Until I joined the Army. And even then, even after I joined the Army, every once in a while I would, yeah. Guys, I've done the sugar diet. Okay? And I know where it goes. It doesn't go to a good place. Right? So, and now you can say, okay, well, but you were a teenager, right? And my metabolism,
probably the
only reason it didn't affect me immediately from a weight perspective is because in high school, I had 2 classes my senior year of weight training.
Wow.
Right? And then I joined the Army, and all we did was run. Right? I mean, I was active. I did a lot of things to burn the energy off. Much like when we hear people talk about the sugar diet, the people that aren't getting fat are the people that are lean and very active and already have a lot of muscle. Right? Guys, after I got out of boot camp, I was at 7% body fat. Okay? You can't get much leaner than that. Okay? And I was 18 years old. I was ripped. right? But the problem is it set me up in my 30s to think that I could do whatever I wanted and it wouldn't affect me.
It's always
It absolutely
about
set me up for failure down the road.
the habit creation, the behavior
Yep.
patterns, the thought patterns. Those are the things that'll screw you up. Not to mention the fact that the junk you were putting in your body was not creating a healthy, optimized machine.
Correct.
So on the outside, he might have looked fit, ripped, and people think that means healthy, but your external appearance and your internal health do not correspond.
Yep, it's the iceberg, right? What's on the surface is never the truth. It's always the stuff that's underneath the surface. So that was my high school. That was my teenage years before I joined the Army. Then as an adult, I developed, because again, like those habits, oh, I can do whatever I want. I'm never going to get fat. I'm lean. I'm active, blah, blah, blah. So then it morphed.
Oh boy.
As an adult. This started and continued from high school through my adult until my 30s. Okay. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced the joy of a crunchy peanut butter jelly sandwich. Okay. So if you've ever experienced the joy of Fritos or Cool Ranch chips or nacho chips or potato chips smashed inside of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, go ahead and put your thumbs up, something like that, guys.
I'm like, what?
I would tear those up.
I was like,
because here's the thing.
First of all, let's just clarify. Fake joy, pleasure.
Yes, pleasure. Completely hedonistic. No benefit from it at all, other than, oh my God, this tastes so good. The joy is here and here.
Short-lived.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. But the enjoyment, I should say. The enjoyment, not the joy, the enjoyment. Yes. But yeah, I think that when I was in elementary school, I did that once.
And then
we were all like doing it at the table or something. Like all of us were like, "Oh, let's put her." You know how kids are, just playing with food, and we did it, and we were all like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And then I just did it for years, even into my adult life. And you got to smash it a little bit to get the bread a little smushed in there. Oh, it's so good.
Oh my God, I can't.
Okay.
And then your cereal. When were you doing your cereal?
Oh, that was
always.
That was that was high school again, all the way through, even adulthood.
Adding sugar to his sugar
cereal. In my 30s, even at times when I was first figuring out my health journey, because again, I started off with the French fries, trying to cut French fries out. I didn't think about other things. So there was a period where I'm not eating French fries. I'm trying to be healthy. And then I would go home, and on a Saturday morning, I'd eat an entire box of Life cereal.
With sugar on it.
With sugar on it. Or I'd eat an entire box of Captain Crunch, or whatever it may be, because
I just have to say,
I was so focused on the fries, I wasn't thinking about the other stuff.
For the record,
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch and Life cereal. Those two would go
you don't like them.
Bottom of the list of cereals for me forever. Captain Crunch left you with a cut.
Oh man, your mouth was destroyed.
And
absolutely.
Life tasted like nothing.
But it would have been Frosted Flakes.
Sugar on it.
Frosted Flakes as well. I would do frosted mini wheats.
Frosted
would tear those things up.
Frosted Flakes were
staples in my even as an adult, I would go through where I would destroy an entire box.
And I told him about
breakfast.
In college, when I decided I was going to get healthy, I was going to stop eating dessert, so I replaced dessert with cereal. So much better.
Right, so much better.
Frosted Mini Wheats was my cereal of choice.
Yep. So I was cutting out the French fries at the time I was eating.
The Mini Wheats
because I was at the same time I was eating an entire box of cereal. But here's the rationale, right? Here's what happens is you get into justifications, and they're so ridiculous. You
fall for the marketing.
Well, but here's the thought process. I told you about this thought process, and tell me if you guys can relate to this, okay? And I think this is one of the things that if you've not lived this, you have no idea what I'm talking about, okay? You get a bowl of cereal, you put the milk in, you put the cereal in, Are you a cereal first or milk first person? That's what I want to know.
Cereal first.
That's what I want to know. Cereal first, then you put the milk in.
Insane person.
I've seen people put milk in first. It's the thing. You put the cereal in, you put the milk in, and then you eat it, and then there's always milk left over. So if you have milk left over, then you got to put more cereal in, but then you eat it to a point, and then there's not enough milk for the cereal, so you put more milk in, and then you finish it, and then there's milk still left in the cereal.
And that's how you eat the whole box.
And that's how you eat a whole box. And always, by the time you're done, there's still milk left in the bowl that you have to drink. And it tastes awesome because it's the cereal milk. It's the cereal milk at the end. So
some company came out with a cereal milk protein flavor.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. That was years ago.
That's brilliant.
That's brilliant, yeah. So that's how you know this is, yeah. God.
Oh, boy.
God. Okay.
Okay.
So that's, okay. Then we get into my more adult years, and we talked about movie theater food.
Oh, God.
Back when movie theaters were the thing.
Yeah, what was your... Because I was saying, okay, first of all, I was lucky, and the reason why I was never severely obese...
you were looking at trying to be healthy.
Well, for one, I was also active. Mm-hmm. I didn't get into dance until middle school, but I did dance in middle school through high school and in college. And then before that, it was like soccer and it was kids aerobics. So I was always doing something active. And my family being Mediterranean, Italian, Greek, our meals were really good meals. Like my mother home cooked, olive oil, like we didn't even use seed oils, you know? So the meals for the most part were really healthy. While some of them were very carb heavy, like it was always in balance with a protein and, you know, very little. We did some TV dinners in the 90s. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, the foods itself were pretty healthy. And for me, it was about always having a sweet tooth and never being able to stop. So there was secretive eating and, you know, obviously my parents would know, right? Like I wasn't doing the groceries. So when all the Keebler, because for me it was a Keebler fudge cookies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. You like those? See, I didn't like those as much.
I would eat the entire thing.
It's so funny how different our tastes are.
So different. So different. And then do you remember the cookies that were like soft sugar cookies? They were big and then they had frosting on top with sprinkles. Mm-hmm. It was pure sugar. So those, the Keeblers, the Oreo. I mean, we were both big Oreos. Everybody in our generation were
Oreos, Nutter Butters, and for me, Lorna Doones. You don't understand the Lorna Doones, but I would tear up some Lorna Doones.
No, yeah. So it was always like the dessert stuff.
And Fig Newtons.
Fig Newtons for me too.
Ooh,
yeah.
Boy, don't give me a box. Don't give me a box.
They were healthy because they were
Don't give me a box of Fig Newtons.
And then we always had ice cream. We always had chips and like. You know, it was always the snacks and the desserts in my house. Like the meals were really healthy, but let's be real. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you had snacks in your house for the most part. Unless you were one of those households. What do they call the house? That's ingredient homes.
Yeah, but see, that's why I had to make peanut butter and sugar water. Because when I grew up, we didn't have snacks in the house.
Because he was a 70s baby.
My mom did not keep snacks in the house at all.
Wow.
We did not have snacks. So snacks were a treat. Snacks were something that, you know, or even dessert was something. If we go out, we'll get dessert.
Right.
Dessert it wasn't a regular thing, right?
That generation, it really wasn't.
So that's why I would walk. Here's something else just popped in my head. Oh my God. As a teenager in high school, I would walk because I didn't get my license till I was 18. I didn't have a car to drive until almost graduating high school.
Y'all.
I was very sheltered. But I would walk or ride my bike about 1.5 miles down the road to the 7-Eleven. I would buy a box of either frosted mini donuts or chocolate covered mini donuts.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
I would get
I used to be into those.
Lemon meringue Hostess pies.
He's so weird, y'all. Some of the stuff that he talks about, I'm like, was all the stuff I never would have even thought about.
Which is nothing but chemical gunk.
No, it's crap.
Nothing but chemical gunk.
All fake.
And there was one other thing that I would get. I can't remember what it was. Some other candy or something. Twizzlers. which is also my movie food, Twizzlers, and I would take those. So not only especially on a weekend, it was like every weekend, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go sit down in the basement. My room was in the basement, our little family area with the TV, and just sit my ass on the couch, watch TV, and eat junk food all weekend long. Wow. And I had to go get it myself because my mom would never buy that stuff. Thank you for not buying that stuff, Mom.
Seriously. So we got into the movie discussion because I said, well, for me, it would be, buy a bag of candy and eat it while I watch a movie or TV or whatever, right? And for me, that was like a whole box. The little
whole box? A whole box.
Not even a big bag, but like a box of Sour Patch Kids. Or when I got really into my health kick, and I had different phases. I really got into like health and fitness when I was a preteen, and like all of a sudden, like I was tracking stuff before I even knew what tracking was. It's like, how much water did I drink today? And what was my workout? I really got into, it was the Victoria Principle workout.
Oh my God.
My mom's
Victoria Principle. Oh, wow.
Victoria Principle. Shout out to my ladies who know about Victoria Principle. That got me started on health and fitness when I was like 12 years old. That got
me started in health and fitness too.
I bet it did. You had some activity from those books?
That's, honestly, okay, total segue. But that kind of stuff is what, for me, I wish, I don't know, other guys.
Fit women.
Fit women. I've always, because of stuff like that.
So,
that's why I like
these. I would have these times in my life where I was like super fitness and health focused, right? And so I would care more about what I was eating, right? So when I was in my probably 30s, early 30s, maybe late 20s, early 30s, for me it would be Trader Joe's chocolate covered pomegranate seeds, or chocolate covered pomegranates, chocolate covered blueberries. And, it's healthy because it's fruit.
Yep.
But it was all fake, right? Y'all, in case you don't know, because some people get fooled by this, Trader Joe's, it does not mean it's healthy.
No.
Because you found it at Trader Joe's.
No.
Like a lot of their stuff is crap.
Yeah.
And I would sit down and eat a whole bag while watching a movie, which I would not recommend to anyone now.
Say that again. Trader Joe's is not a health store.
It's not a health food store.
It is not a health food store.
Nope.
Trader Joe's is not a health food store.
Neither is Sprouts Farmers Market. All of these Mom's Organic Market, just because
they have some organic and healthier
options than the average grocery store, it does not mean everything there is fair game because it's all healthy. Mm-hmm. You still need to pay attention to what you're putting in your body and look at labels, look at ingredients. Right. Okay, I digress. And that's part of my journey. And it was a big part of my journey of learning what's healthy and what's actually not healthy that I thought was healthy.
I can tell you what's not healthy.
Let me tell you, when he told me what he would eat
for one movie,
it reframed the way I was thinking about what I was doing.
Okay. The average movie theater consumption for Coach Bronson back in the day, as an adult, this is not a high school thing. This is as an adult when I would go to a movie, whether it's by myself, with friends, whatever else. When did Avengers come out? That was like 20 years ago, something like that, right?
Yeah.
When Avengers came out, this is what I ate. Okay? To put that in context. A family-sized bag of Twizzlers, red, because they are the bomb.
Another one, I'm like, what?
Two of the little containers of ice cream dibs, usually the Nestle Crunch ones. 2 hot dogs. And a thing of nachos with cheese. That was and it would all be gone in the hour and a half.
My God.
Because back then movies weren't really 2 hours long. So an hour to an hour and a half, that would all be gone.
That puts my one box of Reese's Pieces.
Oh, sometimes instead of Twizzlers, I get Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces and Sour Patch Kids were my thing.
I forgot about those.
It would just be the box, the one box.
Not Sour Patch Kids, though.
What?
They're just, like, I'll have a Sour Patch Kid or the gummy worm ones, the sour gummy worms, but
Ew. So I was obsessed with sour as
oh,
a,
I love some lemon
as,
heads. Give me a
as a
box of lemon
kid.
heads.
And once again, though, you always choose the worst ones. I did have
They're only the worst because for you, they were the best for me.
I did have a phase of lemon heads, but that faded quickly because warheads were my favorite. Warheads, Sour Patch Kids.
I feel like Sour Patch Kids were more sweet than sour.
No.
That's why I like lemon heads, because they're like,
But warheads were and then now and
Warheads were good.
Now and laters were my jam, although they weren't as sour. And any of the sour gummy, like the peach rings.
ooh.
And the watermelon
Oh
wedges.
my God. Is she weird? Is she weird or is it just me?
No, he's the weird one.
So that, for a long time, and it's similar to the French fries, right? Break myself of the habit. For a long time, I didn't go to movies because I didn't want to put myself in that habit of I'm going to a movie theater. This is what I'm used to doing.
Point.
And I had to figure out, okay, get to a point where I could go to the movies and not get that.
And this is the crux, though, of why we wanted to share this, because we used to live life with certain habits that were automatic, unconscious. They just existed in our lives, and we didn't question them.
Right.
We didn't challenge them. And going on a health journey, when you are seeking to improve your health, you have to be intentional about your choices. You actually have to become aware of these habit patterns, of these behaviors, and you have to challenge them, challenge the thoughts about them, switch the association of them, and that is a process. And that is challenging. That is difficult when that is the way you have been living. And I want to acknowledge those of you who are just starting your journey, just starting this process. You still have, and especially if you're starting this later in life, I just want to acknowledge for you the challenge you are up against. Because when everyone in your life, your family, your closest friends, your spouse, your children, your childhood family, everyone you know and everything you do has been about these habits, has incorporated these habits, and now you're the one, because for many of you, you are the one in your social circle who's trying to make healthy changes.
Yep.
And now you not only have to battle with your own mind, but you may lose relationships. Your relationships will change. You may have to stop doing some things that you were doing for a period of time entirely so that you don't have to deal with the triggers. That is not a lifestyle. That is not a life sentence.
It doesn't have to be permanent.
You should not have to be there forever. Now, we didn't even talk about the alcohol, but now either of us could go to a bar and hang out with people. We don't do that very often. But we'll likely be in that situation on the cruise where other people are drinking, other people are eating things we don't eat,
whatever.
And it's not even going to faze us.
Yeah.
But for a period of time, you didn't hang out at the bar anymore.
And I still don't, because the goals change. So it's not that I have stopped hanging out with certain people or associating with people because I can't control myself. What's changed is the reason for hanging out in the first place. What is the reason you have a relationship with this person? If that reason is centered on something that is no longer benefiting you, then when that thing goes away from your life, anything associated with it will go away as well. And it's not because you're trying to cut the person out, it's because you're trying to cut that activity, that purpose, that goal out, because it's not serving you anymore.
And
so it's not about, well, I just can't have any friends. No. those friends, if there's something that you can connect to them that's different than that original purpose, then this is just how relationships work, guys. This isn't, I don't even know what the word is. This isn't a bad thing. This is life. This is truth. This is reality.
That's it.
Relationships have a base foundational reason for existing. When that base foundational reason for existing goes away, the relationship goes away. Unless you refocus it and target it on something else.
Perfect analogy is you think about your friends from high school or your friends from college. Some people do maintain these relationships for life. But I will say, you know, when your life changes, when you get married, when you have kids, generally you stop hanging out with your friends so much. Why? Because your priorities and your focus has shifted.
Right.
And look, I've had friends who struggled with this transition and needed to go to therapy because they were feeling some kind of way about the fact that their friends don't want to hang out with them anymore.
Right.
And the fact is, life changes, your priorities change, your focuses change. When you get really focused on your career, you probably can't just keep up hanging out, watching football all day long for an entire weekend when you have business goals.
Right. If you're in school, you got to focus on school. You can't go out and party as much. Like
when you have newborns, things change, right? But somehow, for some reason, when it comes to our health and fitness, we feel like we have to hold on to all of these things that we had in our lives before, and nothing can change, and we're bad if we change it, and they're looking at me like I'm different and I've changed, and yeah, you have changed.
That's the goal. You're trying to change. That's why we're doing this.
And to that point, we don't hang out at bars, not because we're trying to shield ourselves from something.
We just don't have a desire to. What's the point?
It's not an interest of ours anymore. Yeah. We're not interested in that.
Oh, wait a minute. We go to the bar all the time. At the gym.
Wow. Different bar.
Dad joke.
We go to the barbells now.
Yeah. Okay. I got more. I'm not done, guys. And if you've read my book, Ultimate Ketogenic Fitness, or you've listened to some of my talks, you've heard me talk about this before, but there is a lifestyle. We're talking about lifestyle now. So we talked about events or things that I used to do. Now we talk about how did I live the day-to-day? What are the things that I did in my daily habits that contributed to me being 70 pounds overweight, that contributed to me being dealing with IBS and urgent bowels, that contributed to the aches and pains and injuries and all of the other non-metabolic marker symptoms of poor health, right? Because here's the thing, guys, and this is something that I've learned recently through my studies and all of the different things that I'm doing, is there are a bunch of physical manifestations, physical things in the human body that are impacted by insulin resistance, inflammation, and poor metabolic health that have nothing to do with blood markers. I could be a fine A1C. I could be a fine insulin, HOMA-RI, all of the different markers, right? My blood pressure, all those different things could be in good range. But for me, I had problems with constant injuries, torn muscles, pulled muscles, joint issues, herniated discs. I was broken down. And come to find out, as we learn more about the impact of inflammation on the body,
oh my gosh,
it's all inflammation. The minute, within 90 days of going carnivore and cutting all that crap out of my life, all that stuff went away because I healed myself.
And
it's not anything that marker that you can do a marker on. You can't do a marker on the glycation in your tendons that's causing you to have a pulled tendon all the time. Right, or the muscle tissue,
the low mood,
all those different things. So,
oh my gosh, mood. For me, the mental health, night and day.
Yeah,
night and day.
So those are the things I was dealing with. Yes, I was overweight. I never even thought about getting, I didn't know anything about insulin resistance. I probably was pre-diabetic at 70 pounds overweight. Right now, I had a lot of muscle. I was doing a lot of exercise. I owned a CrossFit gym,
But
so
it
that might
wasn't
have been
enough.
covering.
And that was your aha
that was
moment.
my second aha moment. Where after years of doing CrossFit, I looked at myself in the mirror, or I saw a picture of myself, and was like, I'm still this fat guy.
It
What's
didn't
going
fit
on?
the image you had in your head of
Right,
yourself.
right. I'm the coach trying to get people healthy, and here I am, 40, 50 pounds overweight. This doesn't make sense. So, and dealing with IBS and urgent bowels and all these other things, acne, all the things. So, what contributed to that? What did Coach Bronson do on a regular basis?
And this one is not that long ago.
I mean, this was more towards.
Because you started your journey, you said 2018. So
right. So
like
this was before.
that.
This was before. This is what I was doing before I went carnivore. So I was still doing fitness during some of this. And then it was like, okay, wait a second, we got to stop. And so, because again, we can talk about the French fries. That was the first thing to go for me, nutrition-wise. It was a year, guys. It took me a year to get to a point where I could go out to eat and not order French fries. Or not eat them off of someone else's plate. Right? It took me a year to get to the point, right? And you know how much I love French fries.
I hope that hits, y'all. For those of you who are struggling, I want you to know, like, we never expect you to do this stuff overnight.
Right.
Like, it is a process. These are things you've been doing for a long time. It doesn't take, like, oh, I'm just going to commit harder this week and then I'll be perfect. And then, like, it doesn't happen that quick.
It doesn't happen. It was a process of, first, I'm just not going to go out to eat. I'm making food at home. If I make it at home,
part of your process,
I'm not. I don't have to worry about getting French fries.
Right, like avoiding. And this is the point I wanted to make before, is that for a period of time, you really will benefit from avoiding the triggers.
Yeah.
You know, eventually we want you to get strong enough mentally, and your commitment to your lifestyle changes have shifted enough to where you're not fazed by the triggers, or the temptations are no longer triggers for you.
Right. Or there's a process, and we'll break this down a little bit. The process of avoidance is going to cause the mental work to happen because you're going to miss it. You're going to ask yourself, maybe I'll just go out with the guys, or maybe I'll just go out with the girls on Thursday. And then you have to remind you, no, I said I wasn't going to do that because I'm not trying to do this. It's going to cause thought processes that trigger, and you have to practice doing it
with the thoughts
while you're at home, where you're also not dealing with the fact that the thing is right in front of you. If you stay at home, you will have enough emotional work to do without also not having it within reach.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you get through that point and you start developing the awareness and working through, why am I craving this? Why am I desiring this? Why am I thinking about this every day? If you can work through that, when you get to a point where you understand that a little bit more, and then you have some tools to deal with it, that's when you can open up the door to maybe go out once and see how you do.
And that's
right. And it's a process.
That's the process, though. It's not, I'm going to distract myself with everything I can to not go out so I can white knuckle through this. And then you end up going out on Friday instead and just face planting into the fries. And then you do that every week because you're just white knuckling through it without dealing with any of the thoughts.
It doesn't take willpower. It takes awareness. Okay, there's a big difference. All right, so once I got through the French fries, here's things I was still doing. Okay, but the French fries was really the kicker to get me to stop doing these things. All right, on the average week had one or more of these things a day in a week. Okay, every morning, I can tell you this, every morning was a stop at Dunkin' Donuts on the way to work. Dunkin' Donuts with sugar and cream. 2 or 3 mini egg and sausage wraps, the little mini tortillas with the half a sausage in one, because they couldn't give you a whole sausage in one, right? So basically one whole sausage in two mini wraps with some egg and cheese, and 1 or 2 Boston cream donuts.
Oh, the Boston cream donuts.
I love me some Boston cream donuts.
That was his thing.
Every day, every morning. That was on the way
It
into
blows
work.
me away every time.
On the way to work, every day. During that time, now this was where the French fry, the biggest part of stopping the French fries was me not going to Red Robin, because I was in a habit. Red Robin was literally like right down the block from where we worked. And me and my brother worked together. So me and my brother would go to Red Robin for lunch every day. And you can't go to Red Robin and get unlimited baskets of French fries and only eat one basket. It's unlimited. If I'm paying for unlimited, I'm eating more than one basket.
Okay, I want to talk about that concept, because I was going to say, if I think about where I was probably around the same time of your age when you were doing this,
Yep.
For me, and it's so clear now that led to bulimia, because for me it was about restricting all the time. So
Yep.
I told him, I was like, I couldn't remember what I had for breakfast and lunch most days, because I was probably
not
skipping
even
both.
eating. Yeah.
I know I wasn't eating breakfast. For years, I didn't eat breakfast. It would just be coffee. And before I started my journey, I would put all the cream and all the sugar in the coffee. I was drinking a little bit of coffee with my cream and sugar.
Right. Same here. Yeah.
And that was one of the first things that went. I actually had to stop drinking coffee. That was one of my remove the triggers. I stopped drinking coffee because I could not at that time have coffee without cream and sugar. So when I was deciding to cut out dairy and sugar, I cut out the coffee until I could get over that. And then eventually I added in black coffee, and then learned. And then things came out on the market that were non-dairy and sugar-free.
Right.
But
Thank God for Equip beef protein powder.
And nut pods. But I was going to say, so I remember skipping breakfast for sure for years. And then a lot of the time I don't remember lunch, because I would just work all day and never get up from my desk. And that was part of the problem too, right? Because I'm sitting all day at a desk and tunnel vision with work, and didn't take a lunch break. I don't remember what I ate when I did take a lunch break. We'd probably go out to lunch, so it'd be restaurant food, right? And this is when, and I would have the mindset of trying not to eat, trying to eat less, because ladies, it was all about being small and losing weight, and always about trying to stay small and be smaller. It was never about muscle. It was never about health, right?
Yep.
Or I thought it was health, but really it was just small, skinny, whatever, thin, all of these ideals we had back then. And
Still do.
And yet, of course, I worked in the arts. So I was at an art center, and there was always something going on. And so there would be leftovers from whatever thing, or they'd do a coffee and donuts meeting in the morning. And so I would always overdo it with the donuts because they were free.
Yep.
Or the bagels with the cream cheese, or the pastries, or the board meeting gets out and now it's all the desserts. And I would just go crazy because it was free. And if we could bring our Tupperwares,
Right.
go load up on everything. And another big thing for me was going out to eat with friends, and I would just overeat whatever it was. Whatever
You said you would even be feeling bad while you were eating.
While I was still there,
Yeah.
at the table, brain fog, stomach distension, bloat, discomfort. I could no longer be present and enjoy my time with my friends because I was so uncomfortable. But it was so about the hedonistic pleasure of the taste of the food that there was no thought of stopping. It would be appetizers, and it would be cocktails, and it was always the cocktails with all the stuff in them. And then it would be
That's
meal,
another big difference.
and then if I'm out to dinner, got to get dessert.
Right.
And then it was the concept of either free food, or I paid for this, so I'm eating every bite and then some. And some off this person's plate and whatever. It was always about getting what I could for the money.
Yeah.
And that is one of the best things, you all, if you can shift that. I'll never forget too, one of the turning points for me when I started competing, and I was like tracking macros, and I had a plan to stick to. And at that point, I was the one planning the events fundraisers, and it would just pull out all the stops, right? All the things we would have at these events. And I could be around at that point, I could be around all of it and not touch it and not go home with leftovers. I started watching the highest level, most successful donor and board member women who were, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, or they owned the family foundation, and these were like the distinguished women. They were just like, wow. The women that walk into a room and you notice them, the way they dress, the way they carried themselves. And they would maybe pick at things, barely, touch all of the things that we put out for everyone. And it would just be like it wasn't a thought in their head, because they were there for the purpose of the event, for the people, for the networking, they weren't there for the food. And what a separation I noticed between those of us who were the worker bees, hovering over the food tables and wanting to take everything home. And it was like the haves and the have-nots. Yeah. It was like they could take it or leave it. And it was just this moment of, and none of them were overweight. And yet we're all like beeline for the table, right. Or at least who I used to be, right? And then it was just like, interesting how successful people act around food. It's very different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it started to shift that association I had with the
it's all
get all I can, it's free, eat it all, to, well, why do I need to?
Yeah.
And if it's free, y'all, it's not your money. You're not wasting food. You didn't even pay for it. You did not spend $1 on that food. You're not wasting it by not eating it.
The thought processes that we put into our heads about these things.
And it's only to justify. It's only to justify. Justification for eating the junk.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. All right. So we talked about breakfast. We talked about lunch. Let's talk about dinner. There are two main things that I had for dinner most nights. And the fact I used to eat so much Domino's pizza or Thai food. And it wasn't any Thai food. It was specifically pad Thai, which is noodles and more noodles with chicken. I would get chicken because I didn't get the protein, right? Extra chicken. So I'd get a big thing, those big square to-go containers, right? Yep. Full of noodles and chicken mixed in with pad Thai sauce and everything. And 2 servings of spring rolls on the side. I would eat all of that for dinner. Or I would eat a whole large Meat Lover's pizza.
Wow.
It was one of the two for dinner most nights. God, jeez.
At least it was Meat Lovers.
At least it was Meat Lovers, but good Lord.
Once again, protein, but you're getting like all the fat and carbs.
Oh, the fat and carbs, and yeah. Is there any wonder, guys, I was crapping myself all the time? Like, seriously. God.
I wonder where the IBS came
I wonder where the IBS came from, yeah. So that was literally, guys, where I was until I decided, hey, I probably need to clean this up. And then, my process, similar to yours, was more, okay, let's just stop going out, start making food at home, more go paleo-ish, whole foods, that kind of stuff. And then it transitioned into, it didn't even transition. I decided to basically go from paleo to carnivore overnight. And then that's pretty much all she wrote. But all of this to say, because we're well over an hour, all of this to say, we did not start where we are now. Okay?
Yeah.
The things that we are interested in, the things that we do on a daily basis, the things that we put our focus in are not food anymore. And that's one of the biggest changes that we've been able to see is I used to get up in the morning and all I would think about is what am I having for breakfast? What am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? I don't think about that now until it's time to make it.
Yeah.
right? When it's like, oh man, it's time for dinner. What do I have? Oh, I have this. I already know what I have in the house because I'm only putting things in here that I want to eat that are going to help me for the most part.
He gets mad
Every
at
once
me
in a
when
while,
I buy snacks,
she bought
and then he eats all
plantain
of
chips
them.
the other day. I'm like, why did you bring these in the house? And then I ate the whole bag.
This is how it happens, y'all. I bring it in because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll want to have these at some point. And then, well, I don't have to worry about that because
Nope.
they're gone.
I'm protecting her. You're getting ready for a show. You don't need that stuff.
Not yet. I'm not on prep yet.
But we have that freedom to not even really
The
think
freedom is what I
about.
was going
That's
to
what it's
say.
about. Yeah.
The freedom of your mind being free to think about
Other
whatever
things.
you want because you're not consumed with thoughts about food.
We're
And
not
for me, it
we're
was
not
the
hungry all the time thinking
opposite.
about,
I
oh my
used
God,
to
I
not
need to eat.
think about my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was constantly thinking about what I couldn't have.
Ooh, there we go. Yeah.
And good luck not eating it when all you're thinking about is, I can't have that, I can't have that, I can't have
Just
that.
makes you want it more.
Your brain goes, that food, that food, that food, that food. It doesn't
Yep.
hear the can't and the not and the I won't eat it. It just hears the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was digging my own grave. Thinking
Wow.
like that.
So hopefully that lets you guys.
I want to paint a picture though now of what life is like.
Okay,
for
we got to do it
real.
quick. We're
Right.
at an hour
For
and
real,
20.
because I want them to know like,
Life is great. We get up,
Well-
go to work, come home, have sex, go to bed. It's great. Go to the gym. Got to throw that in there too. Or have sex instead of going to the gym.
as it relates to food, babe.
Oh,
we
food.
just talked about food and
Oh,
our
okay.
old food
What are you talking
habits.
about? I mean, I'm not thinking about food. We just said that. I'm thinking about other things.
Well, that's what life is like now. Yes. He's always thinking about other things.
Hey, not always.
Okay, one thing I said to you the other day when we went out to dinner was, wow, imagine how much more money we would spend
Oh
if
my
we
God.
were drinking these days. Like how much money we save by not drinking alcohol.
How much more meat can we buy because we're not drinking alcohol?
Seriously. When I go to Costco, the bill is like $600.
Yeah. And all of it's yummy.
And it's all meat, eggs, maybe a couple of snacks.
Yep.
But even then, let's talk about snacks, right? Like what we're not doing now is indulging in something extra every day.
Right.
We're not eating plantain chips or pork rinds or cake or ice cream
Or French
daily.
fries.
French fries, right. It's our lifestyle is real food, meat, animal-based real food.
95% of the time.
And then if we want something else, we can have something else. But when we choose something else, it's usually still real food based. French fries or sweet potato chips or plantain chips or pork rinds or
The worst thing that I'll have will be the Jubilee ice cream that I get every once in a while.
which is real
Which at least it's
made ice cream.
Yeah. The worst thing in it is the sugar itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But again, it's not
It's a
something I
completely
do
different
every day.
lifestyle.
It's not like before where it was, I'm going to do 5 pints, 4
Oh my
pints in a night while I'm watching Netflix or something just because I feel bad for myself.
yeah,
And it's not something that I think about.
right.
Like there was a time where I would literally I knew Friday was coming up and I knew on Friday on my way home from work, I would stop at the Giant. We told you this story, is that little shopping center, once as I was working through this, coming out of this depression in 2020, 2021, I couldn't go to that shopping center.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I didn't.
Because just going
Yes.
in, just driving my car into the shopping center, which sucks because they put Five Guys in there. So I had to work through it before I could go to that Five Guys. But just going to that shopping center with the Giant, I had to avoid that shopping center for a while because I knew on my way home from work on Friday, I was going to go buy 3 or 4 or 5 pints of ice cream to have for Friday night. And then Saturday, I would go back and get some for Saturday night.
Yeah, places. a big thing that I think about almost every time I go to the grocery store now is
Yeah.
just how amazed I still am that I can walk through the aisles of any grocery store and not like and see things that I used to love eating or I would still love to eat and not be tempted by it. Not have to have a conversation in my head about not buying it. I don't have to talk myself off the ledge anymore. It's just it's there. Oh, those are good.
Right.
Keep moving, right?
Right.
Like it still boggles my mind.
And let's end this, guys. I think you said it before, Freedom. The story to tell is that our lives used to be held prisoner by food. We were held prisoner by the foods that we ate and the way that we thought about them. Now we are free from that because the foods don't control our actions, we do.
That part.
Okay, we are taking control, we've taken the power back, and we get to decide what we do, when we do it, and how we do it. We are not driven by how we feel about the food. We are driven by what our goals are and the control that we want to have over our lives.
And we're not driven by, I have to reach this goal so I can't eat that. That's not the thought process. We're not now white knuckling our way through life.
Yeah.
And it's not about...
Well, here's the thing. You know when you're really in touch with where you want to be, when you start thinking about things not as a restriction or a removal, but as a means to reach your goal. I don't think about, I have to not eat something. I don't want to eat it.
That is it.
I don't want to eat it. It's when you can't eat something or you're not allowed to eat something, that only means anything. The only reason that has meaning is because you still want it. That story changes when you don't want it. When you don't want something, then you are no longer being restricted from having it. There's no desire there.
And because I think a lot of people will hear that and say, well, but what do I do if I still want it? You have to change the association in your mind about the food.
What do you believe about that?
About it? Exactly. Exactly that.
Get out of my head.
Because now, instead of talking myself off the ledge at the grocery store to not buy things, I would have to try to talk myself into buying something that doesn't serve me. Even if it looks good and I'm like, oh, that's tasty and it's like a healthier version of something, I might take a look at it if it's on sale and be like, nope. Like I just can't bring myself to buy it.
Especially if you look at the ingredients. Right? Just looking at it, you may, even if there's a temptation, I could justify doing that.
Purely Elizabeth, keto, no, it's like a nut granola. It's not grains. And recently I bought a bag and it was because I had seen it on sale and I didn't buy it because I didn't feel like I could justify it, even though it's really clean. Like it's not even like some of the stuff on the market where they're putting like brown rice syrup and all this other shit in it, right? But I was like, no, just not right now, because maybe I was working toward a goal or I didn't want to have nuts because of the inflammation or something. So I didn't buy it then. And then when it's, most of the time, if something, even if it seems healthy, it seems like it might be a nice indulgence, if it's not on sale, I'll tell you, I ain't buying it if it's not on sale.
There's a lot of justifications you can make for not doing something just as much as there is for doing something.
So when it came up on sale,
the ones you focus on is going to determine. It's like the wolf you feed analogy, right?
But I'll tell you, and part of that process too for me, because of the why now, that's not about reaching some weight goal or physique goal, because it's about my health. There's simply never going to be something I buy at a grocery store without looking at ingredients, ever. That doesn't happen. So 9 times out of 10, when I see my ladies eating some junk and then saying something later like, oh, it had this in it and I didn't realize. Why did you not realize? You chose not to look.
You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to look. You chose not to
You chose not to look because it sounded good and you didn't want to know. And then after the fact, you come and you fall on your sword because it's easier to, apologize than to ask for permission. And you're still in the phase of needing to ask for permission for things because what Coach Nat has to say about it matters more to you than.
Okay, we're going to go into a whole nother conversation. We got a whole nother video.
But that is a whole topic.
That's a whole nother topic.
We did talk about that. Let's put that on the list.
Let's put that on the list. So next week, we got a Q&A.
Then we're going on the cruise. So
Then we're
probably
going to cruise. Are we going to do anything on the cruise?
Maybe it's going to.
Maybe we should do like have a rotate, like have people stop in while we're doing the cruise. That would be
so much fun.
Do a live and just not even really. It's just a general.
That would be so fun.
Meet the speakers or something like that, and we can try to get people to drop in. Because who's on the cruise? We got Maria, Boz, Lenskis is Vega.
Yes.
And I don't know who else.
There's like one or two people I haven't seen before.
Okay.
One is like a psychiatrist.
And Jen and Michelle. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure.
It's a female.
There's some names we haven't. Yeah. So maybe we'll get some people to drop in when we're on the cruise.
That would be fun.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, everybody. This was a long one today. Share it. I think it might be good for people to realize that nobody is perfect. Nobody gets where they are without going through some challenges, and everyone has their own story. See ya.
Love y'all.
I'm showing everybody